Oh,
Candy?
okay. Good evening. Welcome tonight to the Town of Mount Pleasant Planning Board meeting, regularly scheduled for November 7th, 2024, 7:30 p.m. First up, we have business items. First business item is acceptance of minutes drafted from the 6/6/2024, 10/9/2024, 10/21/2024 Planning Board meetings. Any questions or comments on those agenda items, or those minutes?
No, I move the acceptance of the minutes.
We have a motion from Eileen,
Second?
second from Jane. Jane?
Aye.
John?
Aye.
Eileen?
Aye.
An aye for me. Next up on the agenda, second one-year extension of resolution of approval for 40 Sawmill River Road, site plan SP 22-03, parking lot expansion with landscaping and stormwater, 116.7-1-4, 7th Jam Development. Any questions or comments on this one-year extension for 40 Sawmill River Road,
Yep, they're still addressing approval conditions.
which they are addressing approval conditions for those who are hearing out in TV land?
I'll make a motion to grant the second one-year extension.
Motion from John,
Second.
second from Eileen. Jane?
Aye.
John? Eileen?
Aye.
And aye for me. Next up, continue a public hearing. Propose One Point Place construct a series of mezzo retaining walls, thereby creating a usable rear yard configuration, including a pool. Application is steep slopes, number SS24-05, location One Point Place, Chappaqua, New York. Section plot line number is 99.10-2-3.42, zone R40. Unknown applicant is Doshi J. and Supriya, 50%, Doshi Vinay and Vasanti at 50%. Engineers, AE Professional Engineers, PC. Welcome, 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 and come on around up.
Do we have to waive the reading?
We
did that last week.
we did that last-
We don't need to do it again?
we did that last time, so we're
Okay.
good to go. We're good to go.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Peter
Welcome.
White, A&E Engineering, regarding One Point Place.
Glad to have you back.
And at the last meeting, we were asked to do some type of a rendering showing what this arborvitae blocking would look like between the two properties. And we're structural engineers, we're not artists, but basically this is what 22-foot arborvitae would look like if you were on the property below looking up at the subject property, which is up here.
Okay.
Okay? We, I think Mr. Samara had suggested that we contact a landscape architect. We did that. Landscape architect had wanted $2,500 for us to even talk to him, and needed a month to do any kind of work on the project. We found that to be unacceptable, both cost-wise and time-wise. It's not that big of a project, and it shouldn't take that amount of time. What we do have is the following. The arborvitae are 3-inch. We went to the supplier and got the information on it. And
They grow
basically-
3 feet per year.
Excuse me?
3 feet per year, not 3 inches. 3 feet per year, not 3 inches per year.
Yes, 3 feet per year.
The Green Giants.
And we'll grow to a height of 25 to 30
Yeah,
feet.
just do me a quick favor if you don't mind. Can you grab that mic, just pull it right off so they can hear you out in TV land?
And will grow to a height of 25 to 30 feet over its lifetime. They're planted at about 5 feet apart, so basically they create a blocking shrub system, which is what we were trying to achieve. The red maple is a 3-inch red maple. They grow at a rate of about 2 feet per year. They have, one of the red maples are here, the other one is in this area. You don't want to put trees that shed leaves too close to a pool. It becomes a problem. And then down in this area, we have the two white oaks, which grow 1 to 2 feet per year, and basically will grow to a height of about 40 feet in their lifetime.
So
Now,
how,
in addition to that, the owner of the property has suggested, and I believe this, one of the things they were very concerned about was creating a garden. And they talked about planting some fruit trees in addition to the plantings that would be part of the original contract. It's not up to us to tell them what to plant, but I have a feeling that they're looking at, things like cherry trees or that type of
yeah.
that type of planting. When I was here last, a question was raised about conservative areas. This thing does not affect any conservation area in the subdivision. There was a letter forwarded to the town. I don't know if you
We did.
received it or not, from the Architectural Review Board of the Homeowners Association, that they're very much aware of this. They have seen the plans for it, they reviewed it, and had, that was the reason nobody showed up last time I was here.
So it was a letter from the HOA, not, right, it was from the HOA.
From the HOA, there's an Architectural Review Board
Gotcha.
within the HOA, and that they sent a letter. I don't have a copy of it.
I've seen it, yeah,
I haven't seen it,
okay.
but that's okay. As long as you have it, that's
Yeah,
what matters.
it was forwarded
The
out.
question was raised as to whether the HOA was cognizant of this or not the
Yep.
last time I was here. The reason nobody showed up was because they were aware of it, and the people who live in the neighborhood did not have any objection to what was being proposed. They've seen the plans for it, and again, there's nobody here.
Well, here's the beauty of what we did, that, having that document from them, when the person comes a year from now and says, we don't like how this was built, we have, documentation that they did review it. So we documented that somebody did review from the HOA, and we have the document here in Town Hall, and that's good to have, for the record.
Okay.
So, I have a question though, on those green giant arborvitaes, how close to the wall are those bushes going to be planted? Do you know?
What we did was we left between the lower wall and the property line, we left a gap of 5 feet.
So those bushes are going between the walls?
Between the wall and the actual property line, we left a gap of 5 feet.
And where are the arborvitaes going to be? In the gap of 5 feet?
Right in here, in the gap of 5 feet, right along that line.
So just know, and this is really not, you're going to have a problem eventually, because those green giant arborvitaes grow to about 12 to 20 feet wide, and they go to about 50 to 60 feet high. So if you have a gap of 5 feet, you're going to have a problem at some point. Those bushes, I do know, they get enormous. So those bushes may not be the right bushes. I'm not going to make that a big sticking point for tonight, but you really need to carefully look at that, because it's going to be a problem in 10 years.
You may want to move them over.
We can pull the wall back further.
But he's only got 5 feet though.
The lower wall really is to create a level platform in order to build the two major walls that are supporting the.
It's between one wall and the other.
Okay.
Right.
So a green giant arborvitae is going to be problematic.
Again, we could pull the wall back further.
Yeah, but you need to pull it back, what did I get? It was 12 to 15 feet, 12 to 20 feet, excuse me. So
It's 5 now, I can pull it back to 12 feet or so if that's,
well, yeah. So the average width of a green giant arborvitae grows to between 12 and 20 feet. The average height is 40 to 60, so we figured out the height, that's okay. But the arborvitae does grow from 12 to 20 feet wide. So if
I assume also that a landscaper, somebody has to trim them up and
the reason why I'm so enthusiastic about this topic. I have about 38 green giant arborvitaes around my house,
Okay,
and they grow about 3 to 4 feet a year, and they have to be trimmed, and they do get very wide.
okay.
So they're not going to fit. I mean, I'll just say that again. They will not fit in that spot. So in a 5-foot spot.
We believed that that was the best solution to screening.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not a landscape architect, but I do know, Google's telling me, and my experience is telling me that it will not fit. But I will not make that a sticking point tonight. But my advice to you is, after this thing is done, research those bushes, because you're going to have, somebody's going to have a problem
the
10 years.
emerald
The
years.
green-
engineer for the project, I'm willing to pull the wall back. I have-
Yep.
But the emerald green arborvitae is more columnar, it doesn't spread as wide, but you're not going to get the same rate of growth or the same spread, so you'd have to plant more of the trees. But you'll have to just figure out what's the best plant for that.
Yeah, I'm just
Yeah.
sharing my experience and what Google's telling me. And you're telling me a 5-foot wall. So
I know nothing about them, to be quite honest with you, and at
Yep.
the end of the day, I basically went to Shemin's Nursery to get information on the trees.
Yep.
This is what I was given, although there are other varieties of them.
So we'll just have the minutes reflect that what we think is what the bushes grow to, and you may want to think about that.
So, Mr. Chairman, what I'd suggest is if the applicant's solution is to adjust the location of the wall, that needs to be shown on the plan.
Yeah.
So you couldn't approve that. If it is just a selection of species of landscaping,
Yeah.
you could make that a condition of approval. We could review that with the building inspector, myself, town engineer, and we can review that with the applicant.
Yeah, I like that.
I noticed that red maple might not be a great species there. They like to be wet. I think that's
Okay.
thin soil there. So if you're okay with that, that could be a condition. We could work with the applicant to
Yep.
adjust the species. But if he's physically changing a wall, that's something that.
No, that's a different conversation.
Yeah, I don't think you need to change the wall, maybe a different type of tree.
So, okay. Anything else?
No, that's pretty much it. I happen to be going through my notes, and we started this process on the 22nd of June,
Okay.
2022. So we're
Okay, it's the
kind of
process.
moving along.
Listen to me. Clearly, this is the process that you're in, right?
No, I know, I've been here before. This
No,
is
I
not-
know, and I know it's arduous sometimes, but I can tell you, the applications normally and usually come out better at the end because of the feedback from the board and from the community, so just be patient with us. So with that being said, any other questions or comments from board members?
I have a couple. This is here for a steep slope permit, and our responsibility, as I said last month or last time you were here, is to, our first responsibility is, I even wrote it down, that there's no reasonable alternative on the site that's not a steep slope area. And they've got 60 feet from the back of their patio, flat area that they could put the pool there instead of going into the steep slope area. In addition, the view that you have from the downhill neighbor, I'm not moved by the homeowners association or the neighbor not really opposing it, because that's not what we're charged with, keeping the neighbors happy. We're charged with minimizing changes to steep slopes. So, but their view will change when 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 trees come down. So they've got a wooded area behind their house, and all those trees will be removed as the land gets filled and cut over there. So that's a concern of mine. But after reading what our primary responsibility is, I went to the purpose and intent of the steep slope regulations, and it talks about preventing erosion, stormwater management, and protecting habitats, and it seems that those issues are addressed here. So, is there a reason this couldn't be? This is all to accommodate a pool. Why not put the pool where it's flat, and then you don't have to bother with the steep slopes or the retaining walls? Or
The reason the pool was buried and into the wall like this is because it's an above-ground pool. It's not an in-ground pool. And you
So-
now have a 5.5-foot wall, which basically conceals the pool. And we don't have to excavate this area in order to put the pool in.
But if it's an above-ground pool, you don't have to do any excavation, you plop it on that 60
Well, I'm
feet in
saying
the
this,
back,
You
though.
don't have to do it. This slope, if you can see the grade lines, this slope falls down very rapidly from here. And we've done the steep slope analysis. So the idea of putting a pool like this is not the first time I've done this with these type of walls. Basically, when you walk out of the house and you look at it, it'll look like an in-ground pool, but at the end of the day, it's not.
From the applicant's house, it's going to look like
From the
that.
applicant's house, it looks like it looks like an in-ground pool. And like I said, I've done this same thing before with this type of wall and above-ground pools. And basically, we've done the steep slope analysis. This is the only way he's going to end up with any kind of a level yard, which is what he's been looking for. He's got small children, and he's looking for an area that he can develop as a play area and family area.
Okay.
And as far as I think we addressed the stormwater management issue, these walls basically catch stormwater.
I caught all that.
Yeah.
I also saw an annotated response to the town engineer's letter, his June letter. Do we have any response from Dave that his answers were satisfactory? I didn't see that.
So
Okay.
Dave signed off on this.
Okay.
So
Okay.
your point, Eileen, it's not about the engineering of the wall, it's about the discretion you have with respect to a steep slope limit. That's the question.
And is there a reasonable alternative for a pool? I mean, we're not in the business of making sure people can have pools, number one. But if we're looking at the application, is there a reasonable alternative for that pool to go on that site? And from what I've read and what I'm hearing, that there is a reasonable alternative to put a pool somewhere else on that site. Am I correct?
I think if the question is about the pool, I think that the owner would probably opt to eliminate the pool altogether, rather than try to put it in another location. In which case, the wall then would close in from here to here, and there wouldn't be anything there.
Okay. Any other questions or comments from board members? Okay. So we have an application here tonight. We're not going to, any comments or questions from board members? Anybody here tonight for this application? I'm going to guess no for One Point Place. Like the records show that nobody has come here tonight for One Point Place.
Mr. Chairman, you may want to inform the applicant that he would require a unanimous vote tonight to carry this motion, and he may want to take that into consideration given the comments.
Yeah, we're rolling the dice a little bit because we have light attendance from the board. And you would need to get every single person on this board to agree that this pool and the wall, not the pool, but the walls are something that should be approved. So we can do a couple things. We can continue the public hearing from one more meeting and hope that more planning board meetings, planning board members attend, which would mean your chances of having the approval is greater than having a less number of people. Or, and in the midst of all that, we can kind of address some of these other concerns that kind of came up with the arborvitaes and then some of the points that Eileen brought. I would think it may be something that we may want to extend the public hearing for one more meeting.
Well, if I could give you a preview that may influence your decision, I don't think that you meet the standard for, I think there is another place you can put the pool. And I don't think you need to have the walls. You don't buy a steeply sloped lot and then come in and say, I want to put in 18 feet of walls to make a flat backyard when we're supposed to be protecting that. However, I weighed that against, do you meet the purpose of not allowing disturbance of steep slopes is to protect runoff, erosion, habitat, and from the sound of things, that has been achieved. So I would not oppose approval. I don't know how the other board members feel, but on the face of it, it's you meet the requirements or the purpose and intent of the law.
All right, thank you for your comment.
So I think the chairman's asking, you want to wait till there are more board members? Or do you want to,
I have no idea. This is not what.
Well, yeah, it's a guessing game. You're the roulette wheel, and you have no way to gauge the response. I can tell you what I'm thinking. What I'm thinking is very similar to Eileen. I do want to make sure that whatever we're doing, that we have very specific planting plan that's corrected, and we can have that amended with the town staff. But I don't think, this is outside the planning board purview. Those green giant arborvitaes will not work.
So what does that do for us approving this tonight? Obviously, you need all the board members here to approve this.
No, we need all four of you to say yes.
Unanimous.
So if
So
one of
we
you
need
votes
an-
no, we have a deny.
Now, he met, obviously, he's met all of Dave's
He's met the
requirements.
engineering requirements of Mr. Smith.
Right.
But as Eileen raised before,
I got
there are
it.
policy issues that's really what you're charged with evaluating.
Yep, and so the open issue, which is, I'm not going to dig into, because it's a steep slope permit, and
It's a steep slope.
and this whole landscaper thing, I'm not going to dig into that too much.
It's an excuse for him to buy a couple of weeks,
Yep.
put together a full board while we sort out the landscaping thing. That, to me, would be a prudent thing to do, but it's
Yep.
the applicant's decision.
As I said, it seems to me that, moving the lower wall back enough to make room
I-
for the planting is what you're suggesting. and I
No,
have
I'm not
problem
suggesting
doing
that, and I want to be very clear. I'm not suggesting that you move the wall, because that introduces a whole other level of problems, right? Moving the wall introduces new problems. What I'm suggesting is that you rethink the plantings that fit into that spot more appropriately. You have a bush that's going to grow to 20 feet wide, and the space is 5 feet. So the quickest solution for you, and probably the less expensive for the applicant, is just choose different bushes, different landscaping plants. I'm not suggesting, and let the record show that, I'm not suggesting that we're making any changes to the wall.
No, what we were trying to do is, we were trying to come up with a screening that was in the
And I
range
get-
of about 20 feet.
And the landscaper company's going to tell you just this. Yeah, it's going to go, but they may not realize when you spoke to landscaper companies, the tightness of the spot.
You could get different arborvitaes that don't get as wide.
They don't get as wide, and we have no problem doing that. I mean, we're prepared to spend the money to put the plantings in, so regardless of, we certainly will look to get something that actually works.
So let me offer a little bit of guidance on this. I think it's worth getting that landscaping plan revised, and I would think it sounds like the board is favorable toward the idea, but let's sew up the landscaping plan, and let's make sure that we have more board members here to, because you're going to have a problem.
prove your odds?
To prove your odds, yeah.
Can I just say, don't move the wall, because then you're going to have to send it back to engineering, and it's going to be a lot more time when you have landscaping alternatives.
It's a modular wall, so moving it a short distance back is not.
That's not the point she's trying to, don't touch the wall.
Okay.
Yeah.
Leave the wall, it's
Also,
good.
you've got 12 feet of land between your lowest wall and then that one. You've got 12 feet, is that?
No, I said I have approximately 5 feet between my lowest wall
And the property line, and then you have how much distance between the,
This,
nope,
you're talking about this distance here?
nope, talking about
This
between.
distance?
Yes.
This distance here is,
Whatever it is, you're gonna have some maintenance difficulty because you can't get a mower back down there, so whatever is gonna be growing in there, that's something to think about. I don't know how you're gonna maintain that area, what's gonna be in there, but nobody's gonna be able to mow down there, so think about what's in there.
Okay, so here's what I'm thinking as just one board member. I'm going to say, for me, that we just need to extend the public hearing. I'm not saying it as a chairman, I'm saying as a board member. I would vote to extend the public hearing. I want to get the landscaping plan revised, the arborvitae issue straightened out, the red maple issue straightened out, the points that Eileen brought up about the mower and all the other kind of good stuff.
Right.
Let's get all that sewed up and buttoned up. I'm not so concerned about this application because it's a pool and it's November, right? So we're gonna treat this with due respect, but seasonally, we're not under dire circumstances right now. So with that being said, let's get those 3 items straightened out: the landscaping plan, the arborvitae's, the red maple, the limitation, if you will, of how to get a mower and all that down there. So if there's not grass down there, there's some other kind of plan down there,
Pachysandra or
some ground cover.
ground cover, yeah.
Right, so
But
let's-
the idea was not to plant the lawn down there, that's not.
Yep. So with that being said, that's my thought as a board member. I don't know what the other board thinks. If the board would like to continue the public hearing, then we can make a motion to do that.
I make a motion to continue the public hearing.
Motion from John,
Second.
second from Jane. Jane,
Aye.
John,
Aye.
Eileen,
Aye.
and I from me. Okay, we'll just button up those things and we'll circle back. Okay? We're doing good. All right, next up on the agenda is number 2, Town Board referrals. Number 2, proposed 75 Kensico Avenue North extension, and just give me a second to get the room ready. 75 Kensico Avenue North, extension of the Hamlet zoning district VH to the adjoining parcel 75 Kensico Avenue North, which is currently zoned as R10. Application Town Board referrals TB 24-01, location 75 Kensico Avenue North, Valhalla. Section block line number is 117.19-2-20, zone R10, owner of the Kensico LLC. Applicant is Daniel Amamucci. Planning and Development Advisor is David B. Smith. Welcome, come on up. And you have a, you're already hooked up.
Hi.
So I'll be brief. We were here once
Yes,
before.
yes.
And yes, so we're just looking to get the rezone to an R10 to the VH, which was approved by the town, obviously.
Yeah.
And so we have our whole team here. Our architect hasn't shown up yet, but Dave Smith will make the presentation.
Okay, and because there's nobody here, you can turn that monitor if you want so the board can see it. There's nobody here in the public that
Okay.
we need. That's good, thank you.
So I'll just let Dave take it from here, and he'll present the entire
Thank you.
project. Okay, thank you.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. For the record, my name is David Smith, the other David Smith. I'm here on behalf of the applicant. I'm with Planning and Development Advisors. In addition to to myself and the representatives of the development team, we have Andrew Collingham, who's our project architect. We understand he's on his way, but he may have run into some traffic. In the meantime, I will play architect if I need to. John Kellard, who's our civil engineer, Brian Dempsey, who's our traffic engineer, and myself. And so we've put together a petition. We've submitted that to the town board. It was submitted earlier this year. We made a presentation to them, I believe, in August. And I think it was favorably enough received that they forwarded it on to your board for review and recommendation. And that's why we're here tonight, to make the presentation of our application and then for you to have a recommendation back to the town board with respect to our proposal. So the project site is approximately 0.89 acres, just under an acre. Let's see. And you can see the mouse, that's the location. It's located in the R10 district, immediately adjacent to the VH, which is the Valhalla Hamlet district. And we think it's important that this location, given that the town has adopted an updated comprehensive plan, and you devoted a fair bit of time and energy and effort into developing the Hamlet districts. And so this property was formerly a church. It's now used for insurance office and some storage, and I'll get to some photographs. But most importantly, it's very proximate to the Valhalla Commercial District and the Metro North train station. And so there are a number of concepts in their comprehensive plan and in your Hamlet studies that talk about connectivity and fostering developments that are walkable. And I think part of the presentation that we'll go through is that we're proposing 34 units. And the project is all zoning compliant under the VH, the Valhalla Hamlet district, 17 of which are one bedroom, 17 are two bedrooms. And part of the the kind of the marketing strategy is an overall recognition, and this has been going on in the county for a number of years, is that there's a significant segment of the community, not just Mount Pleasant, but all through Westchester County and the lower Hudson Valley, where people have been living in their homes for a number of years. They want to downsize. They don't want to take care of the lawn. They don't want to have to worry about the boiler, the roof, and they want to transition. But they don't want to move out of the community where they've established their ties, where they have significant family and relationships within the community. In addition, there's also an opportunity here for this type of housing community for younger people who are looking for smaller units, so for starter homes. So this is not an unusual situation that you would find throughout Westchester County. We think it's a housing opportunity that fits in well with the zoning that's already in place and with the development program. So these are just some slides of the existing conditions. On the left is North Kensico Avenue, and the entrance to this current site. On the right is the existing church building and the parsonage. Again, there's the church building on the left, garage storage on the right. This is looking up from Cleveland Street. On the right is an existing staircase which will be rehabbed, which provides pedestrian access down to the commercial corridor. Here are some of the existing conditions. Again, the commercial corridor, and we'll get into some of the benefits of this particular project, in that each household comes with it disposable income. And we've done some projections that there's a significant benefit to having people who are proximate to the commercial district, where they can walk and get goods and services conveniently available to them. And in addition, the photo on the right is the picture of the Metro North train station. So again, this is well within a quarter-mile distance. It's an easy walking distance to have access to Metro North. And then you also have the B-Line bus system, which runs along the commercial corridor as well. There he is. Okay, right on time. So our project architect is here. I'm going to have him quickly go through kind of the architectural design and the thoughts behind that, and then we're going to get into some of the specifics of the project. Andrew?
Thank you, Dave. Good evening, everybody. My name is Andrew Collingham, project architect. And so we're looking at a building comprising of 34 units, 17 one-bedrooms, 17 two-bedrooms. And the concept behind the volumes of the building was to sort of integrate the building with the grade. Kensico slopes up towards, in this picture, the right side. So on the left side of the building, we have the parking level at grade, entering at the lower side of the topography of the site, so that we can bury the parking underground so it's less conspicuous, with 3 floors of residential above. Now on the back side of the building, because of the stepping, there's one less level that's exposed. So again, playing into that topography. And then on the front of the building, the 3rd level at the top is sort of hidden by the roof line. It's almost like the apartments are within a dormer, so as to not create a building that's too tall or too imposing on the surrounding context. In terms of the style, we're kind of going for this sort of Tudor-esque building, sort of like a contemporary Tudor, with lots of roof lines, a mixture of different various materials, such as stone around the base, and then on the upper parts would be hardy plank or some sort of composite siding. But again, mixing elements, mixing materials such as lap siding, vertical board and batten siding, and then the colors, we want to do something that's sort of muted and just understated, some neutral tones that sort of blend in with everything. The building offers some very favorable, favorable amenities to the residents. So that was something that in the comprehensive plan is a requirement, something that we want to nail. So the rooftop is sort of the main attraction for amenities. We have some lounge recreation space on the roof. There's also bicycle storage in the underground parking portion. And then plenty of parking spaces for not only the residents, but also guests, which is again another element of the comp plan that we want to adhere to. In terms of the circulation, if you look in the lower left of Kensico Avenue, that's the primary entrance. And so you'd enter and then immediately make a hard right. There's a drop-off area inside, handicap spaces per code. And then we have the secondary means of egress in the backside so that you can loop around and park on the exterior spots and then come back out to Kensico. You want to go to the fire plan maybe? You have that one. This is just a snapshot, sort of a preliminary layout of how we're going to do the floor plans. Not into that level of detail yet, that zoomed in level, but just to kind of show you the layout. So there's a central corridor with units flanking all around the exterior. There's 2 means of egress per code. And then on the right side, you can see the mechanicals as well as the lounge space on the roof. And this is what I was first touching on, was that playing into the building, setting the building into the topography so as to not be so exposed. Parking level at the basement at grade with the units above.
And how many parking spots in that on the site?
You have that on the first page.
Does it meet the parking requirements?
Yes, it exceeds the parking requirements.
Okay, so we're good.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's a large site, just under an acre, so we want to make sure that there's ample parking for, like I said, residents, but also visitors. This is the latest site plan from Kellard Sessions. So we had eliminated at some point, we had a secondary exit from the rear onto Cleveland Street, but we thought that that was unnecessary, and given the topography, one thing that we wanted to ensure was that there was a safe circulation path for fire trucks, ladder trucks. We consulted with the fire department to make sure that this was a viable option. So here we have the specific trucks from the fire department showing their turnaround paths and that this is a viable plan. At the top of this plan here, you can see that we're still maintaining access, but only for pedestrians and residents.
Can you
as a
point
way.
to that, like show me where that is?
At the top of the plan,
Okay, got it. Okay.
exiting
Street.
onto Cleveland, yeah,
Okay.
Cedar Street. So that would be for pedestrians, and if people want to walk their bike down and head to the train or head into town and eat and do whatever they need to do, pick up their dry cleaning.
Or they can go down the other way, which
Or
is
they can go down, yeah,
right.
yeah, depending on how they felt that day. There was a fire hydrant on that plan too. So we just want to make sure that we spoke to the right people before we get too far along. So the fire department we felt like a critical step after talking to the building department. We want to make sure that they are on board, which we have a positive letter of confirmation from them. So this is the zoning. You want to take this out?
So I'll take here. Thank you, Andrew. So the proposal that's before the town is to amend the zoning map for the town. And the area that's highlighted includes the proposed property, and it's, as I noted before, it's immediately adjacent to the existing Valhalla district, so it's basically just adjusting the zoning line.
Dave, is there a reason you're excluding that little cutout
I
there?
was
Why not
thinking the
going
same thing.
straight up? What's on the other side of the street?
the other
there?
house.
Yeah.
Right here,
Yeah.
those are both single-family homes. That's at the discretion of the town. If you wanted to include those homes as part of this application, they're not part of our, we don't own those properties, they're separate ownership. I don't know what their reaction would be to being included in the district or not, but we're only including what we
What you
control.
need, yeah.
So in the submission, we've included a number of the planning rationale that are identified in the comprehensive plan and the Hamlet studies, proximate to mass transit. Again, because you're within very convenient walking distance, you don't need to depend upon the automobile necessarily to access the commercial and the other services. appropriately scaled residential development, creation of a pedestrian-friendly environment. Again, reduction in total vehicles, miles traveled. Placemaking, again, we've tried to incorporate some of the local conditions. And one of the things that came out of our meeting with the town board, Pat had mentioned that as part of the planning study, somebody mentioned, well, you know, it's a church, or maybe, you know, you can incorporate the spire as part of your architectural design elements. But that's further down the road, but that's also a possibility of kind of integrating this within the area. And then, as part of the smart growth components, you know, concentrating investment into areas that are suited to accommodate growth, where you have the appropriate facilities, the utility system, the road network, to allow for these types of developments to occur. Now, again, these are some of the common planning concepts: fostering development in downtowns, villages, and hamlets, directing development where it's most supportive, fostering distinctive and attractive communities, creating walkable neighborhoods, and taking advantage of the existing transportation infrastructure. So, some of the project benefits. So, as this is a significant investment for the project team, approximately $10 million to be invested in the town. Again, as I had mentioned earlier, it expands housing opportunities.
Well, that $10 million is not to the town of Mount Pleasant. That $10 million is the cost of the construction?
Correct. But it's an investment in the town of Mount Pleasant.
Within the town, gotcha.
That's what I'm indicating.
Understood.
I don't think that's insignificant. I think that's
No.
a significant dollar figure. Based on the cost of the project, we're anticipating it's going to generate approximately 70 construction jobs over the course of the construction process. We've done some initial fiscal analysis. It's approximately $164,000 increase in overall tax revenue, almost $200,000 when you look at what's already being generated from the project site. Minimal impact to the school district. These types of facilities, 1 and 2 bedroom developments, typically generate very few school-age kids, and we've included survey data both from the metropolitan area and more specific to Westchester County. I think we estimated that there would be 3 school-age children generated as part of this proposed project, and the taxes would cover the potential cost to the school district. And then I think the last thing, and I spoke about this before, that each household that moves in has some discretionary income they're going to spend within the greater Mount Pleasant community. And based on the projected rents, the rents, $2,600 for a 1-bedroom, $3,900 for a 2-bedroom. Based on those income streams, you have approximately $1.4 million in discretionary spending. So some of that is going to be spent in the Mount Pleasant community.
And those are low rents, but in today's market, you could probably do better than that. Anyway.
Yes, we're trying to be conservative with our numbers, and
That's fine.
if we can get more, then obviously, as the market dictates, that's what we would be getting. So, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, thank you very much for your time and your consideration.
So yeah, I don't want to get too far into as great as the architecture conversation was, I don't think tonight's really the night to get into the architecture, because, and all of that. The two things I think we should ask you to think about at some point in the future is there any EV storage, or EV charging facility for the Tesla that goes there? Like, think about that.
Yeah, I think almost every new development like this includes or incorporates some EV charging.
I'm not hung up on that point, just a thought. And then also storage. Is there any storage needs there? Bicycle storage, that kind of thing.
Correct, yes. We have some areas in the basement, in the parking level, sort of dead corners that you can't park in, that are going to be carved out for storage, either tenant storage, definitely bicycle storage. We think that's an important aspect. And I also think EV charging is commonplace these days, and that's definitely a good marketing point.
So let me just frame the conversation just for the public, number one. So if anybody's watching tonight, which I don't know if there is, are you here for this application for 75 North Kensico? No. Okay. So if anybody is watching, tonight is not approving of this application. Tonight is talking about the zoning for that site and whether or not the planning board will or will not make, or do nothing, make a recommendation to the town board on the property itself. They're going to have to come back before us at some point and review everything. So
And, Mr. Chairman, the town board would have a public hearing on the zoning.
Yep.
They would have that whole process.
so if anybody,
Before it would come back to you.
because I'll say what Mike used to say, if anybody sees me in A&P, which doesn't exist anymore, we did not approve or disapprove or do anything with this other than make the recommendation to the town board for that. So that being said, one thing I'll say that we should think about, and what I would ask if we do anything to the town board, is have the town board research two things. The parking restrictions on North Kensico Avenue, are there restrictions on there, especially winter parking, and the parking restrictions on, I think it's Cedar Street or Cleveland Street, whatever that street is behind it.
Cleveland.
Do we need parking restrictions back there or not? Because what I want to avoid is cars just landing all over the place. So,
Yeah, Cleveland's weird behind there because
Yep.
it sort of ends and then it continues a little bit, so.
and that street in particular, because there's really no room.
Yeah, and so the good news is there's, I think, 43 parking spaces. They do provide guest parking. If they didn't, I'd probably park on Cleveland Street if I'm a guest for this facility, if I knew about that, or if I had a second car. So understanding the limitations on Cleveland's a good idea, but I don't think it's that big of a concern because they're over parking.
There is, but I just want,
I don't know what the regulations are, Jim.
me as one member of the board, I would make, if we do go toward a positive recommendation, I would ask the town board to consider those two things. And also the fire department and ambulance, which you've already engaged with them, but I think at some point we need to get a letter from them saying that they sign off. Other than that, that's it from me.
So we're here to give our recommendation for them to go to the town board?
Correct.
To extend the Hamlet
Right, if you
district.
think it's a good idea to extend that district.
So they'll be amending the map, the town map,
Right.
to include that.
And the only thing that I would offer is, to the point Eileen raised earlier, is
Oh,
I
right,
would
right.
recommend that you consider squaring
To
it
square it off.
including those two
Right.
properties as well.
So that'd be the third item
Yeah.
that I can think of. Any other questions from town board members? Town board members too. Planning board members?
How many guest spots are there?
I believe there's 7, if you go back to the first site plan.
No tenants in that building.
What?
I believe the requirement is 1 visitor parking space required per 7 apartments. So I think we've provided over that requirement. Well, the total amount is over what the requirement is.
The total amount of parking
yeah, we-
spots. My only concern is that if you have guests or people that are parking with 2 vehicles or whatever, that I don't want it to impact the stores and the other, where they're not having parking now and it's going to
Yeah.
affect them, which has happened in other hamlets that have really been the demise of other hamlets, that there's not enough parking, like in Hawthorne, so.
Yeah, and there is some flexibility on the site plan, so we have a couple of retaining walls on the left side of this plan to extend that flat parking area. So if need be, there is some flexibility there to push the grade out a bit more. But we went
I think
above
with
the,
a project like this, the town is gonna start enforcing parking on those streets, paid parking and whatnot. And also, on top of that, on the bottom of the train station, I don't think there's any more permits for train parking. Is there?
Right, no, but I think just understanding the parking restrictions, we can't do a whole bunch, if they meet the requirement, they meet the requirement if the zoning changes, but what we can do is look at the perimeter of the property and say Cleveland Street and North Kensico Avenue and the Village of Ahala, what are the parking restrictions in there? Because what I want to avoid is cars staying overnight throughout the village.
Well, they did the parking restrictions on those streets because people were not paying for their train passes and they were just parking there all day long, so that's what happened.
But I just want that data to come back to us at some point. If this application does come back to us at some point, like what are the restrictions on those 2 streets and in the village as well? There's also on top, by the way, on, what's that, Lakeside Drive now? Because there are people parking up there on top for that other development now, which has sort of created a problem.
Further up the road, that's right.
So what I want to avoid is having a whole bunch more cars up there. So anyway, anything else from other board members?
I think the project is unlike others that we have in Valhalla, and it's something that is needed, and it sounds like one of the ones that might actually address a downsizing couple more than, a big house.
Absolutely.
Or young people, yeah.
So what is the pleasure of the board with the provision that, what we said earlier, which take that into consideration? What would the board like to do?
And just one other final point, and Dave mentioned it, this is a fully conforming project to our brand new zoning in that area, so that reinforces the fact that presumably we got the zoning right, and developers can comply with our zoning, so that's a good sign. If it were included in the district where the zoning.
Do you
was
get a plaque
applicable.
for the first building in Mount Pleasant that Well, as one board member, I recommend it to the town board.
So let's tee it up. How do we want to frame this up to the town board with the language that we just outlined? And we said, what I said, that I want to make sure we understand the parking on all the streets surrounding it, Kensico and Cleveland and Lakeside and the Village. They need to factor that into their decision. We want to make sure that what Eileen, you brought up, which was another good point, which you want to outline that?
So I wish I knew the address of the properties adjacent, but across the street. But
The
it's
jut.
squaring off the,
The jutted piece,
Yeah,
yeah,
include-
squaring that off. Is that something they
you
should?
can turn
cons-
that into English, right?
The
Okay.
jetties-
Yeah, that's what Pat's good at. And then also, obviously, the services, fire, all that, we need to make sure that they are in alignment with us. So with that being said, if we tee that up with, can we make it into a motion?
I make the motion.
And what is your motion?
My motion is to give a positive recommendation to the town board. right?
Yep.
Subject to those three items.
Subject to those three,
So we have a motion from John,
Second.
second from Eileen. Jean,
Aye.
John,
aye.
Eileen,
Aye.
and an aye for me. And we're good to go.
Good luck.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman.
That was painless, huh? That was painless, huh?
Yeah, yeah, for now, yeah.
He's been through this before,
Yeah.
There we